This is Paul Nobles from ePerform.com. I am sitting here with April Blackford. April, if you want to say hi to everyone.
Hi, everybody.
So we don't have any questions right now. I don't know, did you have any questions from anybody in the forums at this point?
No,
Okay, well, we can kind of start things off. Um, have you been following my Instagram challenge thing?
I have.
The, do you have any thoughts about it? It's kind of, I think I, you know, Well, okay, for a lot of people that don't know, and virtually no one knows, we have a new book coming out. And April, myself, James, and then Dr. Spencer um, wrote a book on flexible eating. And I thought since we were doing the team challenge right now, that it'd be kind of interesting um, to cut down. I was actually going to wait to cut till like the spring, right before the open, and then I was like, well, we got the book coming out, and therefore, and we've got the team challenge, and so I do have a little bit of a window here. So why don't I go ahead and join everybody in the challenge and see, so they see what it looks like. And I think that people are sort of interested in it. We're getting some interesting comments. Most are positive. One thing I'm noticing about Instagram is a lot more positive than Facebook. That is for sure. You know. Um, but the idea of what I'm doing is to try and keep my food as high as possible, and then also keep my activity higher because that's what I enjoy. I like being active. I like lifting weights. I like, doing CrossFit, things of this nature. And one of the main emphasis of the book is that if you are on a cut, and I think 10 pounds is actually a dramatic cut. I don't think a lot of people think of it that way. But the way that I do it and the way that I'm pointing it out in the challenge or in the Instagram photos, basically what I do is I take a picture of everything that I eat, and then I take a picture of the scale every single morning. And I've had pizza. Last week I had ice cream. Um, I'm trying to point out to people that you can both eat more, you can eat more flexibly, and then still reach your goals. And so I'm down 2 pounds right now. Hopefully by tomorrow I'll be down 3 pounds. I'm actually a week ahead of schedule, which if you think about it is kind of normal. Um, Usually you're going to be able to lose that first 3 to 5 pounds a lot easier than the last 3 to 5 pounds. So I'm not trying to put it out there like, oh gosh, this is just a piece of cake, to lose 3 pounds. Well, to be completely honest with you, I could probably lose 3 pounds tomorrow, getting really super aggressive. But that's really kind of the opposite of what I'm trying to show with this photo series. And so what you'll see in an ideal world um, is, I'll meet my goal, which my goal tomorrow would be 177 pounds if I don't reach my goal. I'll kind of see where I'm at and reevaluate, but I have some pretty good impressions so far that I am going to meet my goal. But what I do at that point is I bounce off that 177, right? And the one thing that we've talked about a lot in these webinars for a long time is that you have to have the scale go up and down. And people go, oh, well, yeah, the scale just naturally goes up and down for me. I'm like, no, you're misunderstanding. What I'm saying is you want the scale to go up. You want to bounce off of that 177, and then you want to be able to kind of eat more normally. For like I would say, let me break it down to how I'm thinking of this challenge, and so you guys kind of understand where I'm going with it. So tomorrow, let's say that I wake up, I'm 177 pounds. Great. What that means is that I can CrossFit on Tuesday. What you're going to see, and hopefully I can just breeze through 10 pounds and it's no big deal. But what I think you're going to see is as I get closer to 170, I'm going to need both Monday and Tuesday to get that pound because it gets harder and harder as you go, right? So every single time I'm going to want to bounce off of that bottom by having some carbohydrate, um, working out. Usually on a Tuesday, my energy levels might not be amazingly high. If you look at today, I have a decent amount of food, and I'm going to end tonight with 7 ounces of Greek yogurt and then PB Smash, which people are really into that recipe, so that's kind of funny. Um, but that's not dessert, I mean, like it tastes good and I like it, but that's not like a dessert like I would consider a dessert. Um, but once I'm at 177, ideally I'd like to stay. I mean, I'll admit to something on the webinars that I'm probably not going to say on Instagram, but I weigh myself at night too sometimes. And the one thing that I want, eventually, and hopefully I'm getting to the point, is that when I go to bed, I'm not over 180. I think last night, as an example, I was like 180.6. And there's only so much, especially as you get kind of closer and you're having to restrict food and things like that, kind of that inflammation that you see, because sometimes I'll shift, 3 pounds, on a night. It's also going to be interesting. One, summer is ending, so you've got the state fair and Labor Day and some other things that are kind of tricky to navigate, and I'm not going to be overly restrictive during that time. The other thing is the start of school. Right now, I sleep 9 hours a day, pretty much every single day. Start of school might get a little bit tougher to do that, and it's going to be interesting to see how that, preparation or maybe lack of sleep affects this challenge, because usually it's pretty negative when you're not getting enough sleep. When your sleep goes from 9 hours to 7 hours, that's pretty stressful, and it can take a toll on your fat loss goals. And so if you're constantly tired and you're not getting enough rest and things of that nature, we don't talk about it near as much as we should. One of the things that's like a huge benefit of Eat to Perform is that people sleep well, because they're typically eating some level of carbohydrates at night. They're eating adequate amounts of food, so they're not going to bed hungry. They're not waking up in the middle of the night binging on food, things of that nature. And so, so the summer's been kind of nice, and it's kind of interesting that like there's really no scenario where everything's perfect. I mean, I can sleep 9 hours a day during the summer because my daughters don't have a lot to do. But in some ways, it's better during the school year. Now, one thing I can do during the school year, though, is I can nap. So that ends up being a plus.
That's one thing that I've missed over the summer is I haven't hardly had any naps. But school's starting back next week, so I'm getting back on my nap schedule.
So they don't do the Labor Day in North Carolina?
No, they do the Labor Day. It starts back on. I think school starts back on Tuesday.
No, what I'm saying is that they don't do it the day after Labor Day.
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, Labor Day is a big deal here because we have all the farming communities and stuff. Which April will see soon, by the way, because she's coming to Minnesota for the Granite Games next week.
It's funny you're talking about the Fat Loss Challenge. We have a lot of members who we have the team challenge going on, and we've got two official teams, and then we've got we call it the solid assassin, unofficial team of the members who are participating unofficially. But I've kind of been helping, some of everybody on all the teams, but I have a couple of members who, were exercising, 6 days a week. And I stress to them the importance of having more control days. And, when you exercise 6 days a week and do doubles on, 2 or 3 of those days, it's just hard to, it's hard to fuel your body for, energy for all that activity, and also try to get a dress up to drop your calories. So I actually grounded them. So they are quoting and saying, I guess I'm like the mean mother in the forum who have grounded some of them from some of their activity. And of course, they wouldn't see the scale drop, and now all of a sudden that I've grounded them from some of their activity, the scales drop 3 pounds, 2-3 pounds, within a couple of weeks, just like that.
And the reason why that happens, for all the people that don't know, is that it's basically a cortisol relationship. When you there's basically 3 things that affect stress. It's going to be your exercise, your sleep, and your food. And so when you can get them all flowing in the right direction, usually the fat loss is a little bit easier. And people have been kind of conditioned to believe that moving more is constantly the answer. When in fact, now, one of the things that's interesting about my Instagram is that I have, in the last 2-3 days, gone on hikes, and people are like, whoa, wow, that's so old school. And I'm like, well, yeah, but, it's not a stressful way of doing it, and that ends up being a plus. But getting back to the Instagram parts, are there anything that, from your perspective, that is different? Like, I had one guy say to me, "Wow, you don't really eat very clean. You must count your macros, And I'm like, well, kind of what I'm doing, and part of one of the things that I'm doing with this is that I'm not counting macros right now. And I will start counting macros when I start to struggle getting results. But as long as I'm getting results, I'm not going to count macros, because in general I'm going to try and keep my food intake high. But I don't think that my food intake, I can't imagine that my food intake looks high, What are your thoughts?
No, I agree. No, I agree. I think it looks very reasonable. I like how you're actually showing that you can be, somewhat flexible. You can still, enjoy the ice cream, or you can enjoy, whatever, without, basically how you're showing that you're dropping body fat and you're posting your meals, but you're showing that you don't have to eat chicken and rice, or,
Right.
chicken, rice, broccoli, pictures of that all day long. Which I think is really cool. There's actually a couple of members that have commented about it in the forum as well. They're interested, and they're following along with it as well.
Now, Susie's asking a question: how are you hitting your macros eating so little now? What is giving you the impression that I'm eating a small amount? Did you think that I ate a lot before this? I ate more, but I didn't eat an incredible amount more. I would say that I'm being a little bit more disciplined with the cycling, saying you eat 2 meals a day. I've eaten 2 meals a day for the last 6 years. I've actually talked about that pretty often. But you'll also see through the pictures that I do some level of snacking, right? The chocolate, dark chocolate macadamia nuts, I kind of showed today that, I was doing Sour Patch Gum, trying to keep calories low. But in general, if you look at the pork chops, no, that's fine, Susie. I'm just saying, I know, one of the things that's interesting about it, and one of the things that kind of scares you when you do this, well, one, you're like, oh gosh, what if something goes awry and I can't um, keep things going in the right direction, for one reason or another, or you get kind of concerned about it. But the other part that is, I think, interesting to people is people want to believe that I eat a lot more than I do, and that I eat like donuts and and pizza and ice cream all the time. And what's interesting is there's like no middle ground. There's the people that go, oh gosh, I wish I could eat more donuts and pizza. This what he's doing isn't donuts and pizza, so I'm not interested in that. Then there's the other people that eat like kale and chicken, and they're like pissed off that you're eating pizza once a week. And it's like, yeah, but I'm only eating 3 pieces of pizza on date night. It's not like this extreme thing. And so, you know, I'm really trying to be like the voice of reason in the discussion. Um, but I don't know that people are dying to hear the voice of reason. Like, oh, he's saying that I can eat 3 pieces of pizza. Well, yeah, I guess I kind of knew that. And it's like he's saying that I should have, some level of carbohydrate. Well, I guess I kind of knew that. You know, and it's like, yeah, but it's the discipline of doing it. We'll see people all the time that are like, well, I'm coming from a 1,200, 1,300 calorie diet, and I'm really hoping to eat to perform works for me. And I go, wow, 1,200, 1,300. What do you do? I do CrossFit. Wow, that is really super low. Well, yeah, I have a Vice Friday. So on Friday I have a cheat meal. Well, what does that look like? Oh gosh, I just do it up. I do pancakes in the morning, and then I do, hamburgers, French fries, and a Dr. Pepper at night. And man, I almost feel sick. It's like, well, you do realize that that day is like 4,000 calories. And then if you average the calories and you ate more like I eat, you could eat in a more flexible way. I mean, I will tell you this though. The temptations that you normally have on a daily basis that you might give into because, there's this expectation, because I'm showing my scale weight every single morning, that, you kind of have to be pretty disciplined about that.
Well, I think for someone that is aiming for, because you're aiming for what, a pound a week? And you can still enjoy 3 pieces of pizza a week, I think that's pretty darn awesome, in my opinion.
Yeah, I ate 3 pieces of pizza, and then the very next day I had Chipotle and ice cream.
Yeah, that's pretty darn awesome if you ask me,
And I think I think in the last, well, unfortunately, I mean, I didn't intend to do this, but like in the last week, I ended up eating Chipotle. Now I like Chipotle, and I obviously I've talked about it a million times on the webinars. But 3 times tends to be a little bit much. But on the same hand, what I'm really trying to point out to people is life happens, man. Like school stuff happens, all these different things. And so if you don't have a plan, man, it's French silk pie time. You know what I mean? All of a sudden the wheels come off. And so you have to have like some backup plans, and obviously people are starting to see that. Chipotle tends to be one of my backup plans. But yeah, I mean, like today, as an example, I had 2 pork chops, 3 eggs, and a banana. I don't know. That's probably 600-700 calories right there. That's not, it's not super low. For dinner, I had, I would say, more than a half a pound of ground beef, with a salad, um, some taco sauce. I mean, these are not, it's not like starvation. I think today I'll probably end up, today is one of the lowest I'll go. You know, I'm guessing it's anywhere from 1,800 to 2,100 calories when it's all said and done. Um, but yeah, you know, um, I mean, are people commenting on that related to the team challenge? And yeah, go ahead. You were talking about the Silent Assassins and the different groups and how they're, because this is actually for people that don't know. And by the way, hey guys, throw out questions. We'd love to hear what you're saying. Um, uh, but I definitely want to make clear, because I eat 2 meals, I tend to eat 2 big meals. That doesn't mean that that's the way to go. It's just what works for me, and it's the most convenient thing for me.
And and some of the people I have actually recommended, on their rest days, where they don't have activity and, they're reducing their calories down. And these are people who, some of them are, basically members who've been with Eat Perform for a while, so they're used to eating. It's kind of like what you said. It's kind of before when you saw something or smelled something that you want to eat, you just eat it. Because you could fit it in. Now you kind of have to be a little more disciplined a little bit, and that's the same thing. There is a lot of times I've suggested to delay your breakfast. Maybe eat it at 10 rather than 8. That type of thing, and that seems to help out a lot. But I think it's I just think it's kind of, it's not really funny, but it's kind of an eye opener for them to see that they stuck to their macros or stuck to their eating plan very strictly, working out 6 days a week, 2-3 days or double days, and the scale wouldn't budge at all. None. It wasn't going up, but it wasn't going down. And as soon as they reduced a little bit of that activity, and add in, some hiking or some walking or, some, cycling, whatever on their rest days, they're seeing the scale, basically slowly, it's trending down consistently, and it just, I think it's kind of an eye opener that about like what you said, more is not always better, because it raises your cortisol levels and, constantly keeps your body in a stressed state.
Well, what Susie's saying, I'm glad you said that about 2 meals need my 3 squares. I mean, one of the things that I sort of wanted to point out, and I can't remember what day it was, but there was one day where it was pretty clear that I was kind of fasting, where I had later in the day, I think I didn't eat till like 4 o'clock or something of that nature. And the big mistake that everybody makes in that scenario, by the way, the biggest argument of why people overeat when they delay food is because they go to the most convenient option. So, they wait to eat till 4 o'clock, and the first thing they see is a donut, and boom, donut, I have a very real plan about what's going to happen on days like that. I know exactly what I'm going to do. But what I really wanted to do on that day is I wanted to point out I won't be under eating. And see, that's what I think happens. Like in the case of what Susie's saying, she says she needs to eat 3 meals a day. I eat 2 meals a day. Some people eat 6 meals a day, all of which can work. It's kind of funny, though, because people make the argument that you make poor choices when you eat fewer meals. They make the argument that, for instance, if you eat 6 meals and you're not diligently tracking, that you're more prone to overeat, kind of eating non-intuitively. So they all kind of, it's like whatever flavor you pick that works for you. I think that's a big part of everyone's story. And it's always said that, for women that, intermittent fasting, as an example, is more troublesome. And it's my belief, and I think it's a lot of people's belief, that it's more troublesome because of how they're using the tool, not because of the tool. The way that they're using the tool is they're dieting, they've plateaued, they don't know what to do, so now they want to more extreme diet, and put more stress on the situation, and hormonally things get worse and things of that nature. And I know you kind of have some relatively strong opinions on that, but I think it becomes sort of mental for a lot of people, and if you're not mentally prepared, for I mean, if you come into it and you're thinking, I need to lose 20 pounds or my life's never going to be good, you know, you need to stay away from intermittent fasting. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I totally agree. I think with women, I agree with what you said. I think the issue lies where they basically start trying to push the envelope. They start trying to be too strict. They try to reduce their calories down to 1,200 calories a day and intermittent fast so that they can cope with the fact that they're only eating 1,200 calories a day. If I
Right.
delay my lunch or my breakfast until 1 o'clock, it'd be okay for me to space out 1,200 calories, from 12 or 1 o'clock until 8 o'clock tonight, type thing, and I just think a lot of times if you have any type of disordered, eating background or anything like that, it is a very, very bad recipe. I've seen so many people on Instagram, Facebook, if they post a big meal and then right beside it they've got the clock that shows, 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, and it's literally right on the dot, and they got their meal, their plate
Right.
there, getting ready to eat it. That's
They've
disordered.
got they've got gloves on because their hands are freezing cold. It's 97 degrees out. At that point, you've taken it too far. You know, um,
Exactly.
but absolutely, I mean, are we saying that on some days you couldn't use intermittent as a strategy? But that's not what happens. That's not what it ends up being. What ends up being is it starts off as a 12-hour window, then a 14-hour window, then an 18-hour window. Then it's a 20-hour window with 1,200 calories. Well, let's see if I can get away with 800 calories, and it's just like just the one thing that we're trying to introduce to people is to stop thinking of less, 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 and start considering more on occasion. We're not saying that you should do it all the. Well, we are saying you should do it most of the time. But you shouldn't necessarily be doing it all the time. Um, we'll come back to what you were going to say though about the challenges because we are having a question. Brad was asking, I'm wanting to jump in and get started, but feeling overwhelmed. I've had help calculating my macros. What exactly would be the overwhelming part? He's saying, but I didn't want to waste everybody's time with dumb questions. Well, to be honest, Brad, you paid your money to ask questions, and we are not in a position to judge the questions. But truthfully, if you have a question, my guess, we got 13 people, 14 people here right now. I'm guessing half of them probably have similar type questions. So just, shoot them. Hit us with the questions. But the one thing that I always kind of caution people is allowing themselves to say, I'm confused, right? Because we're putting out these materials, we're giving you access to health professionals that work with people on a daily basis. You have every tool in front of you to not be confused. The problem with confused is that it's easy to be confused. It's a lot easier to be 30 pounds, have 30 pounds more fat on your body than you should have and be confused than to do something about that 30 pounds of fat, right? So that's why I would caution people to be careful with that confused thing, because it really does kind of speak to a level of disconnectedness, in your own personal journey. Because no matter what you do, Weight Watchers, paleo, you know, CrossFit, whatever it is, you have to own it to improve and get better and understand the process more. Brad's taken a few minutes getting back to us, so while we're waiting for Brad to get back to us, why don't you talk a little bit about what's going on with the team challenge?
Um, it's going very well. We've got the private sections going on in the forum, and each group, they kind of support each other. We have a weekly check-in thread, and you know weekend strategies. All recipe section. A funny meme thread. All kinds of little fun stuff going on. Everybody kind of seems to enjoy it, and kind of, staying active and participating in it. And I think it's really good for, just motivation and support, and seeing, everybody's kind of going through the same thing, the frustrations of, well, the scale didn't move the past couple of days, but now it did. And, I think
Yeah.
it's really neat for, support and stuff, and everybody's really enjoying it.
Well, that's one of the things I'm really hoping that people really get from the Instagram is that get to that number on a certain day of the week and then bounce out of that. Like I don't think I finished my thought earlier, but basically I bounce off the bottom and I'll eat pretty freely for like the first 3 days, and then I really start to dial in on those last 4 days, and then try and hit that number. And early on you can hit the number pretty easily. For those who aren't following yet, it's basically just Instagram.com/eattoperform, and I log all my meals, or I take pictures of all my meals, and then I take a picture of my weight every single morning. And what's the funny part about that is it really doesn't move that much. And it's sort of funny because I had one woman say, I was 178.8, and the next day I was 179.2 or something. She was like, well, the scale went up. No, the scale only went up zero point 0.4. That's like, if I just went up to my stairs a couple more times and went to the bathroom, that would have taken care of that. So when I'm referring to the scale going up, I mean the scale going up 2 pounds. Sometimes 1 pound, maybe 3 pounds. That's the scale going up. Scale going up zero point 0.4 is no big deal.
Exactly. And what you were saying in regards to the scale fluctuations, I have to explain that multiple times a day. Because you get a lot of nervous people, mostly women. There's a lot of men too who, get fearful with, I'm working with a lady right now who was coming out of a 1,200 calorie diet for 3-4 years. Couldn't drop anything, and I'm slowly reversing her out, and I basically explained to her that my goal was to get her to a higher calorie standpoint and maintain where she's at and not gain, and then we could slowly start dropping down. And I think she may have expectations that it's going to drop, and she started at 177, and she actually hit a low after a couple of weeks of 174, and she's like, I haven't seen that in years, and this was actually eating more. But then, of course, the fluctuations go back up and down, and, and they're back up to, 176. And I was trying to explain to her that these are very normal fluctuations. I think women tend to fluctuate a lot more than men do, higher and lower, hormonal cycles.
I think that's true, because certainly there's, well, there's times a month that's definitely going to happen. But the other thing that needs to be talked about is that if you're coming from low calorie, low carb, you have cell inflexibility. And so, it's going to take a while for your cells to kind of adjust to this new way of eating that's actually more of a balanced approach that, is going to get you the goals. But that said, when you talk about scale fluctuations, if we've said this before, if you're eating and you're going up 2-3 pounds, that's not a big deal. If you go up 10 pounds, that's not eat to perform. That's just eating.
Exactly.
And so So you really need to make sure that you're owning your own journey and making.
Although I did work with a guy who, basically had gained, I think it was 11 pounds, in the course of 2 weeks. And I looked at his food, and there was really, or he told me what he was eating, and there was really no, reason for it. But then when I looked at his food diary, his sodium levels were like 3, 4 times the normal, the normal amount. And, once I told him to taper that down a bit and increase his water, and he didn't, really drink water, regularly like he should, he literally dropped 11 pounds in 4 days. 11
Yeah.
pounds in 4 days, yeah.
Well, sodium will definitely do that to you. And then there's some, I mean, you don't see this with women a lot, but you definitely see it with men. I remember Austin Harris as an example. Um, I think the kid was 165. Right now, I think he's like 205, and I mean, he's shredded. I mean, he went from a boy to a man, like that. It was pretty unreal. Um, but it all depends on what your goals are for your journey. And guys tend to want to be bigger, and women tend to want to be smaller, and we sort of have to kind of evaluate the person's situation to see if that's a good fit or not. Um, so Stephanie's asking, she's new as well. She's an RN. She's lost 70 pounds since last September. She did use HCG, but learned from this how to break the cycle of eating and how to eat clean. For me, giving up gluten and refined sugars, I cook all my food. I tried paleo for about 6 to 7 weeks, but I had started CrossFitting 5 to 6 days a week. Yes, you guessed it. I feel like crud. I'm in the process of trying to figure out what to put back in my diet. I boxed and did kickboxing 5 to 6 weeks since November. I'm currently 188 and 5'6". Well, a couple thoughts about your situation. Well, let's see. My question is, I do think my calorie intake has been too low. I've used a calculator, and I believe it put me at 2,500, 2,600 calories a day. Start with pre-listed menus. I think she might be referring to like some of the examples in the meal planning guide.
Yeah, I think so.
So I wouldn't necessarily view those as menus as much as kind of suggestions of ways to eat. But how long ago was it? She's saying yes, it's in the meal planning guide. Those are really sort of meant to be as examples. How long ago was the HCG stuff? Because are you familiar with HCG?
Yeah.
Isn't that the 500 calorie?
Yeah, I think it's the 500-600 calories, and use the drops.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. She said that she lost it in September.
Since last September. So it's been almost a year. It's interesting. See, this is the interesting part about that is that, if you we're right at a year, right? So, like, as an example, if she had used Eat to Perform, she'd be down 52 pounds, and she probably would have kept more muscle along the way. So I think it's sort of interesting how people want to get like super aggressive, but in reality, you don't really have to get that aggressive to see real progress. And a lot of times, what happens, with super low calories or uh, you know something where you're using like a fat burner, like what I'm assuming what these drops are. Um, the difference isn't great. You better. We like to have people go more gradually. She says yes, but mine's with fat and HCC burns fat, so 2,000 plus 500 a day. That's another story. Well, while I appreciate what you're saying, Shannon, the person that is our food blogger, she also lost the exact same amount of pounds that you lost doing Eat to Perform in exactly a year. And she didn't eat 500 calories a day. She ate food doing it. Um, and she's saying, I do wish I had done it your way. But you only know, and it's kind of interesting because I was talking to my sister-in-law because my um, my niece, as an example, um, she has struggles with her weight, and the one thing that I said was that you can come at it any different way you want, but the fact of the matter is that she needs to lose weight, and so she lost 30 pounds. Congratulations! I don't care how you did it. That's a way to go. But like in Stephanie's case, and what I think is really Stephanie's journey from this point on, is you're a different person now, and so you have different rules. Um, Certainly, we wouldn't want to see you go back over 200, and we'd like to see you continuing the same trend downward. I think that because you were so aggressively low with the other dieting, you probably compromise a little bit of muscle, but that's okay. What usually that means is you'll have some muscle memory. You'll be able to gain that back. And so the one thing I would say is you mentioned 2,500 or 2,600 calories. What were you eating before you saw that number, approximately, or were you tracking? I'd be interested to know that. She said she had testing 30% body fat now. That's awesome. I mean people think that 30% is somehow unhealthy. I guarantee you, as someone who was higher than that, the way that it feels on your joints, the way that it feels walking around. I mean, you probably have a lot more energy. But the ticket, to get from say 30 to 20 is going to be a different program. She said yes, tracking around 1,800 a day with doing CrossFit. So for those that don't know or are kind of new to these webinars and stuff like this, the 1,800 number is probably a number we would normally have for you on a rest day. We would probably have you, I mean, since you're kind of close, we probably want you to push it, but maybe start you at 2,200 rather than jumping to 2,600 right off the bat, right? Because last thing we want you to do is kind of feel like you're going backwards. And so what we want you to do is a number of things. One, we might want to take a little bit of a break, like just to stabilize for, I don't know, a month, right? So we can kind of get those numbers up to 25, 2,600. And the reason why you want to do that, and sometimes I have to explain this because it's not always intuitive to everyone. Some people think I just want them to eat more, and it's like, no, what we're really trying to do is kind of get your math higher. If we can get your math higher, now all of a sudden, when you cut, it'll be more effective and a lot easier. And that's what I'm trying to show in the Instagram. That's what I'm trying to show is that, yeah, I mean, did I eat more macadamia nuts or 4 pieces of pizza? Yeah, I did, of course. But I was maintaining my weight at 180 at that time, and now I'm kind of cutting, so I'm being a little bit more restrictive, but with still some level of flexibility. But we don't want you just diving into 2,600, but there are some other things that I would like you to consider. The one thing that I want you to consider is that you should probably do some level of just weightlifting. She said that she's CrossFitting like 6 days a week. She mentioned some other exercises and things of this nature. What we'd like to see you, and what I personally do, is especially when I'm trying to lose fat, is I lift weights 2 days a week, I WOD 2 to 3 days a week, um, and then I take rest, And so when I want to be more aggressive with fat loss, what I do is I only WOD 2 days a week. I lift 2 days a week, and then on those other 3 days, the only thing that I will do is go for some light hiking, or something like that. I don't do it on all 3 days, you know. In fact, usually I won't do it at all if I feel like, if my progress is going in the right direction. I'm not going to add more activity. I think that's one of the things that happens with people is that they start getting things going in the right direction and they sort of get greedy with it. And it's like, well, if 1,800 or if 2,200 calories working now, maybe I can go back down to 1,800 calories. It's like, no, we need to make sure that we're up regulating, so then the down regulating kind of works better without being harmful. But yeah, she's saying she's CrossFitting now only. I don't know if they have a open gym situation or anything like that, but I would definitely look at strict lifting on those days if you need a program. I really like the program that we have on our site by Chad Smith, so you can go to Eat to Perform and scroll down, and in the search bar type in Chad Smith, and it'll talk about a high volume training programs. I do that with my wife. I would highly suggest that if you do that, like if you take 2 days to strictly lift, and oh, by the way, I mean, one of the big advantages of strictly lifting is that you're, probably a lot stronger than a lot of the smaller people in the gym. And, let's be honest, I mean, if you want to get really good at running, being a smaller individual works to your advantage in a big way, So do work with your strengths if you're feeling stronger, if, things of this nature. But the other thing that we need to address with the CrossFitting all the time is that for bigger individuals, okay, for people still with fat to lose, it becomes too much cortisol. It becomes too much stress, and that's what we're really trying to address in these scenarios for you guys. And that, I think she said I was listening earlier, I have not rested. And so, yeah, what happens for a lot of people is they'll start resting, and she said, yeah, okay, with loss of sleep, that is bad. Yeah, she's working on her doctorate and teaching nursing. Sleep is a huge loss. She only gets 6 to 7 hours of sleep. I would try and incorporate some level of napping. We talked about that. That would be a good thing. But once again, if you're showing up at the gym at 60%, working on 5 hours sleep after doing a double shift, you'd be better off just going home and chilling out.
Well, like what we were saying, like what we've said before, she's got the sleep issue, which is a stress on her body. She's not eating enough, which is a stress on her body, and she's training 6 days a week, which is a stress on her body. That's 3 things altogether, and, whenever you combine that many stressors on your body, it makes it almost impossible to try to see any progress with your body composition.
Yeah, and I think a big thing for your journey, Stephanie, is going to be being okay at the weight you're at right now, and understanding that 30%, as an example, is a healthy percentage for you, especially where you came from. And so, what we always try to kind of get people to start thinking about is, this is it. This is the next level. This is, I have another seminar coming up here next month, and one of the things that we're talking about is that this is a new you. This is a whole different thing, and so we're going to start where we are now rather than focusing on negativity, bad mental imagery, all these types of things. It's just time to kind of move on. And so it sounds like Stephanie kind of understands what we're saying, but one, be cautious about going to 2600. If you want to say go to 2600 on a Saturday as an example, but I would definitely start looking at that workout schedule and definitely look at getting some more lifting days in if you can, because I think you're going to find that a lot of people think that they kind of default to kind of that treadmill way of thinking, and they sort of use CrossFit as their treadmill. And what we're saying is, if you really want constantly varied, do some level of low intensity, some level of just lifting, and some level of high intensity. Now, I'll fully admit to you that I like to do the high intensity 3 days a week, which is why tomorrow I'm actually kind of working hard to get to this 177. That'll buy me another workout day and will allow me, especially if the WOD looks like it's something I would like, to do some level of high intensity. Because I like doing it. I like going to the gym. I like spending time with the people at the gym, things of that nature. And so all of those things allow for you to see progress, but still do the things that you enjoy. And there is another part of it. It kind of keeps you accountable, And so, like, as an example, I go, well, I can add another workout day. I can hang out with my buddies, go to the gym, do the thing. But if I don't hit that number, I can't do that. I've got to still work on the fat loss. And you know what? Losing weight sucks. Losing fat sucks. I mean, really, what we want people to understand is you should mostly not be dieting. And one of the reasons why is because it's so much more gratifying to be able just to do amazing things. So I'm going to end on this last question from Stephanie and then kind of move on. I'm curious if someone on the forums can look at our WODs and give me feedback on intensity, stay around my 1,800 calorie intake. No, I'm not saying stay at your 1,800 calorie intake. I think your calories are actually very low. You have a very active job. I think what you're going to find is that 2,600 number is probably low. But no, you want to go up on workout days. You can keep the 1,800 on rest days, but it doesn't sound like you rest all that much now. But we need you to have some rest days. But your workout days, I'd probably like you to start off about 2,200 and then work up to that 2,600, and then make sure that you're in contact with April and other moderators in the forums, and then just kind of keep an eye on your progress. But I think you're burning the candle at so many ends that your body's just going to love these calories, and I don't think you're going to see huge weight gain as a result. But if you do, you already know the secret. You go down to 1,800 calories, you keep your carbs relatively low, and you rinse and repeat, and you just stick with it until you're starting to get the results that you're looking to see. But I do think, I said this earlier, we do have to move on because we're getting a lot of questions late. And I mean, I appreciate the fact that you guys are asking a lot of questions late. We're going to run through every single one of them. But April and I have families, and we need to get to those families. And we can't just start. There's literally like 15 questions that are coming up in the last 10 minutes. And the things are supposed to end at 8 o'clock. But we'll happily deal with it. It's no big deal. But I'm assuming that many of you had these questions earlier, but it's all fine. Anyway, let's see, Brandy. I'm curious how people are doing that April grounded from. I'm curious how the people are doing that April grounded from activity. I found that interesting because I live 6 days per week and I do hit 3-4 days per week. I recently went on vacation and just did some walking on the beach and noted a lower weight and more cuts in my legs. Yes, you did, because your cortisol levels went down. In fact, this is very well known in the bodybuilding community, as an example. Um, Julia Ladusky, as an example, talked about this recently, that she was doing cardio and kind of similar to what Brandy's situation. Um, I can tell you personally, Brandy. Well, first of all, I would never lift 6 days a week. Well, it sort of depends on how old Brandy is, I guess. Brandy, can you tell me how old you are? There's a number of people who are saying, yeah, see, Brandy at 39. No, no, no. You don't need to lift that much. Okay, let me explain how lifting works. Okay, you lift. You're trying to create this great stress that causes this adaptation that allows for progress, right? Where does that progress happen? Does it happen in the gym? Does it happen when you're squatting? Does it happen when you're deadlifting? No, it happens when you're sleeping. It happens when you're resting. It happens when you're eating. It happens, um, when your body adjusts and adapts when you're not in the gym. And so what you're trying to do is kind of, you know, I don't know exactly what you're trying to do, whether it's like a fat loss thing or whatever. But to be honest with you, it kind of looks like you're trying to kill yourself. I mean, because truthfully, like, that's a lot of work, And I applaud the fact that you can do that work, but my suspicion would be is, like, as an example, I keep my hit to 3 days a week, and then I lift on 2 days a week. Let's see. It says I'm addicted to the gym. Okay, well, I appreciate the fact that you're addicted to the gym. I'm also addicted to the gym. But I'm addicted to progress. And so I'd be interested, how you think you're progressing, but what is the real impetus behind what you're doing, Is it fat loss? Is it trying to gain muscle? Because what you're doing is not a great muscle building protocol. And it's really not a great fat loss protocol either, because you're constantly, doing this stress. Trying to put on muscle. Yeah, you don't put on muscle that way. You're lifting 6 days a week. Now, when you lift, as an example, are you then doing a WOD right after that, or hit right after that? Or she says she does rest Saturdays and Sundays, but she said she lifts 6 days. So you hit in the morning and then you lift in the evening. Is that what I'm to understand? Okay. Here's the problem. I don't know who's programming this for you, or if you're programming it yourself. But in my view, well, it's not my view. It's kind of everybody's view. That if you want to build muscle, more often than not, people would tell you to cut out the cardio, like, almost exclusively. Like, there's many people that would say don't do any cardio at all. I'm not necessarily a big fan of that, because I think that oftentimes you will end up gaining too much weight. It's sort of,
I haven't done any cardio in almost 2 years. Other than, like I said, me and my family went hiking yesterday. With activities and stuff like that, but no formal planned cardio. In 2 years. If she's doing 5 days, which I do 5 days a week, but I have to have a day during the week of break. basically I take Thursdays off because I
She said
can't.
she rests on Saturdays and Sundays.
I have to have a break after that third day because after heavy squats on Wednesdays, I'm just crushed. There's no way that I could do, a heavy bench, a heavy squat, a heavy deadlift, and through an arm day, back to back for 5 days straight. There's just no way because for me personally, I don't think that you would have enough recovery time in between those sessions to properly progress on your lifts and on your numbers.
Yeah, well, you're not building. I mean, basically the cardio is tearing down what you're building up the night before. Um, and of course that's not 100%. You know, um, there's always degrees with this stuff. But she says she quit doing cardio and gained some fat. Um, I mean, if your true goal is to gain muscle, you are going to gain some fat. But you know, I hear what April's saying, and it's not that that's not valid because it is very valid. That works for April. Um, but I can say for myself, because April lifts, what is it, 5 days a week?
Mm-hmm.
I'm lifting 2 days a week, and then doing the CrossFit. Um, mostly because I like doing CrossFit. Um, but I think that in her example, she needs to lift less, 2 to 3 days a week instead of 6, and then keep those days away from her cardio days. And if she can do that, she'd be better off. I think what's probably happening, Brandy, is you're not 100% ever. You're going to be shocked. Well, was she? Who was it that said about the muscle on the beach?
It was,
I think it.
it was her. She's the one that
Yeah.
said her original questions was she was curious as to how the members did that I grounded from some of their exercise, because she went on vacation, taken a week off, from training, and she noticed that, the muscles in her legs were more cut and the scale was down,
Yeah.
and
I can answer that question. I hate it. I like going to the gym. I enjoy it. It's like therapy. I hate it when I have to miss. I hate it when I have to go down to 4 days. I hate it. I wish I could be 6 days all the time. It's just it's not always reality. And I find that 5 is kind of my sweet spot as long as I'm eating adequate amounts of food. But if I'm trying to cut, I can usually get away with 5 as I'm proving right now. But I think as I start getting closer to 170, I'm going to start seeing that I got to go down to 4 days, and I'm not going to like it. But the good news is it's only going to be for like 3 or 4 weeks. And that's actually one of the secrecy to perform, by the way, is people go, well, what happens, when my calories are low? What do I do at that point? It's like, well, first of all, your calories shouldn't be that low. You only went 10 weeks and lost 10 pounds, and so and you took away some of your activity. So when we start adding in food, guess what we're going to do? We're going to add in more activity. And oh, by the way, if you go from 180 pounds to 170 pounds, guess what ends up doing better? Your pull-ups, all your body weight movements. So you gain like 2 or 3 rounds in your workouts and things of this nature. So you end up being a better athlete in a lot of cases, at least for our sport, for CrossFit. So I'm hoping that's helping, Brandy. I think that, I don't know if you're programming your workouts or somebody else is programming your workouts. What I would strongly suggest is that you go into the forums and then talk to people about, talk to the moderators. We have various coaches that are, can help you program and kind of give you a better idea. Because I think if you start separating your lifting from your cardio in your HIIT training, and maybe you get that HIIT training to say 2 days a week, what you're going to see is that you're going to get a better result from your HIIT training, maybe 2 or 3 days a week, um, and you're going to get a better result from your weightlifting. You know, um, so let's keep moving on here. Kathleen Walters has asked a few questions here. She's saying, I'm new to ETP form. Don't know how my body fat I can just estimate. So how many carbs and fats? I CrossFit Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, and only lift on Thursdays. I do need to lose some body fat, but I want to increase strength. I am 6'2", 5'6", or I'm 62, 5'6", and I weigh 152 pounds. Well, Kathleen, what makes you think that you need to lose any weight? I'm just curious about that. Because for a 62-year-old woman that's 5'6", 152 pounds sounds really healthy to me. What are your thoughts on that, April? Am I incorrect?
No, I completely
That's
agree.
below average.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I'd be interested to hear what she thinks. But she did ask some follow-up, so as she's answering that question, I would like to see her get an actual body fat test. But honestly, you know, I'm not saying that she couldn't work towards fat around middle and trying to get leaner in the middle. Well, that's sort of why I asked the question. Um, we have many people that don't lose any weight at all and lean out. And so I think the first thing that I would like to make an impression on you, it probably won't make an impression on you, but is that 152 is a healthy weight at your age. And so if we can start there, then I think mentally we get to start at a much better place that will actually help you get rid of the fat around your middle and get you leaner. What a lot of people will say to you, Kathleen, is that it's very difficult for you to gain muscle at your age. And I would say that that is correct. What is incorrect, though, is she's saying, yes, it is healthy and not interested in pounds. What we often see is that a lot of people have inefficiencies in the way that they eat, like they don't eat enough protein. I mean, I can't tell you how many people we have to work with at your age group that really need to make sure that they're getting their protein requirements, because atrophy is a big deal at your age. And also, if you're crossfitting and Olympic lifting and all this other type of stuff, you need to make sure that my suspicion is that some of let's see, let me run back to what she said. She says she CrossFit 4 days a week and she only lifts on Thursdays. So basically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, every single day she works out. So she has 2 days where she rests, and both those days are together. In my view, to reach your goals is similar to what I said to Brandy, is that you would have 2 days of lifting. Like for instance, if I was you, if you asked me what is my professional advice, I would say to you, take Wednesday as a rest day. I would like to see you lifting your heaviest weights on Monday, so you keep your Olympic lifting on Thursday. I want to see you squatting and deadlifting on Monday. I'd like you wadding on Tuesday, and then wadding on Friday. And I think that that would be a formula for getting you leaner the way that you want to get leaner. But right now you're trying to do it while working out too much, and at your age it gets really difficult to do. And so we always caution people to take more rest. But like I said, a lot of people don't want to take the rest. They want to try and, go against the science, and they end up, like you said, kind of having the fat around the middle. We've been talking a lot about cortisol. Google cortisol, and it'll literally say to you, fat around the middle, And so if we can start to address maybe some of your sleeping habits, things of this nature, we can really start to affect positively the weight loss or fat loss, I'm sorry, and kind of getting you lean. All that said, I'd be interested to know what your actual body fat is, and at some point I would want to know that. Um, the other thing that I would say is that uh, there may be an element of weight loss that needs to happen. And that's sort of the reality for my situation. I'm a 45-year-old man, so the testosterone's not flowing through my muscles like it used to be. So the ability to build muscle isn't going to be there. And so let's say that over the next 6 months, we address your, let's say that you body fat tested tomorrow. And over the next 6 months, we had your body fat test again, and we see that we addressed all these inefficiencies, and your body fat's the same. Well, we kind of know at that point that the idea of building a bunch of muscle probably isn't going to happen. Usually, April, right? If we see people putting on muscle, it's usually pretty quickly, especially for the women who've been under eating, right?
Exactly.
So if we knew that, then we go, okay, well, we know that Kathleen now needs to lose a little bit of weight, and so we would probably prescribe kind of that slower. Like I'm able to do 10. I wouldn't want you to aggressively go that way. I'd probably want you to do it in 5s. I get real weird, Kathleen, about aging athletes losing weight, especially losing weight too fast. And so that's why I don't like having aging athletes losing 15, 20 pounds, because usually they will lose more muscle than I would really like to see them lose, and that I think is healthy. And so she did have a couple other follow-ups. Let's see. She's saying, yes, it is healthy, not interested in pounds. You always lift prior to WOD, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. I mean, I know that a lot of CrossFit coaches do that. I'm not super crazy about that, but I do it sometimes too. She does rest on Saturdays and Sundays. Okay, so Friday workout at 6 a.m. and Monday it is Monday afternoon, so rest is longer than 2 days. So Kathleen, I've basically given you the formula. What are your thoughts about it, and how do you think you can incorporate that, or what are the parts of it that you would be resistant towards? So I'm going, since we still have kind of a big backlog, I'm going to continue on while Kathleen comes up with her response and then come back to it. Let's see. Susie was saying, interesting about Stephanie. I'm in the same boat, body composition-wise. I didn't lose to get there. This is as high as I've been. Really struggling with the idea that lifting is enough. Have it in my head I need Metcon like a mad woman. I mean, just because April doesn't do Metcon doesn't mean that that's the way that it needs to be done. I mean, I don't know if you can tell, but April is already pretty lean, and so that does afford you some, and she's kind of been lean for a while,
I do jump rope, and I'll do 7 minutes on the rower and stuff like that. But I don't do anything where I say, okay, Tuesday I'm gonna do 20 minutes of cardio, or these are the days that I do this. I just do what I feel. There's some days I go and try to bust out 100, 200 calories on the rower, as fast as I can, just because I feel like it, but there are never days where I'm like, this is my cardio day, or I need to do some cardio. I never do that.
Right, and I guess the point, Susie, is what we're trying to introduce you guys to. See, this is what's happening. Like in Stephanie's case, she's doing cardio 6 days a week, high intensity all the time. Guess what? Your body just kind of adjusts to that. Your hormones down-regulate. You're not eating enough. You're not sleeping enough. All these different things. Those things are all going to be net negatives. What we're saying is, let's start changing the puzzle pieces a little bit. Instead of going all the way low calorie, instead of going all the way, cardio all the time, let's do some lower intensity, let's do some high intensity, and then, maybe incorporating some hikes or something like that. See, I have a hard time with the whole hiking thing because it's not exercise. It's just going outside and walking in the park that I bought my house because it's a beautiful park, and that's where I don't want people to go, oh my God, I've got to walk my 3 miles today. I walked 3 miles today because I liked walking 3 miles today. And I think there's like a change in your mentality. I know many of you are kind of maybe been on the diet rodeo for a long time, and you're sort of new to some of these advanced concepts, but it's really these advanced concepts that are going to get you to that 5th and 6th year and 10th year and 15th year where your life is about health, and health is the priority, and eating and enjoying life and things of that nature. And that's what we're really trying to point out, is that, is CrossFit awesome? I love CrossFit. I love everything about CrossFit. But you know what? I can't CrossFit 5-6 days a week, because if I do, my joints hurt, my back gets a little thing, my form doesn't go great. What I found was if I CrossFitted less, I was better. Does that mean that I was the gym killer? Does that mean I was like super guy? No. But I'll tell you one thing. There aren't that many. The only 2 guys that can deadlift more than me in my gym weigh 250 pounds. I weigh 175. I'm catching up on the squat guy. The third person on the board is 365. I'm at 315. Once again, he's a 220-pound dude. I'm a 175-pound dude. And if I do catch him, I'll probably be 165 pounds at that point. So you see what I'm saying is that, yeah, you can, you have to enjoy what you do, but you have to have a purpose with it as well. Kathleen did follow up. She said, I will get body fat tested. I love to Oli. I have CrossFit for 2.5 years, started at 175, slowly going down to 152. So I'm starting to track my eating, increase the calories, protein, 152 grams a day. That is amazing. That's good. Super. That is 100%. If you don't do anything else for the rest of your life, do that. What would be the percentage for carbs and fat? I would have April run your macros. We're just running way too late for me to just kind of run your macros right here.
I actually already ran her macros.
Okay, go ahead.
I actually ran it off of 4 days a week, though. Because of her age, she would be around 2,016 calories, and if she kept her fats around 75 grams, 75, 80 grams, she would be around 185 for carbs on the days that she worked out.
Gotcha. Okay, when we say 185 for carbs, we mean starchy carbs for the most part. It doesn't mean that if you get to 150 and then the other 30 is vegetables, that's fine. Don't overthink it. But we want to see that mostly starches loaded around your workouts for the most part. Is that helpful, Kathleen? Okay, so I'm going to wait for Kathleen's response. She says she's got it. Once again, make sure to get into the forums because you're going to see some differences, and we want to be able to help you through the process. But I think that the fact that you're doing the protein, that is amazing. That is awesome, and I applaud that because so many people fall way short on the protein. Let's try and whip through some of these. Taylor's saying, when you look at guys in the CrossFit Games like Kenneth Leverage, He's my height, 5'8", and 180 pounds. So my question is, how does he look leaner than that? Is it because of more lean mass versus body fat? Yes.
Yes.
Uh, he has a lot of muscle. Um, I do know Kenny a little bit through a friend. I don't know him personally, but I can tell you that he is just a genetic freak. Um, Kenny, up until recently, really didn't spend a whole lot of time getting real smart about his nutrition, and I think that's why you saw him do so well this year at the CrossFit Games. Um, is because he had things dialed in a lot better. A lot of these guys, Garrett Fisher talked about it, where he's like, honestly, I don't think too much about it. I drink protein shakes, I eat whatever I want. It's like, well, that's maybe one of the answers why you got the result you got. I think what these guys are going to find is they're going to need to be a lot smarter because their competition is smarter, and you're going to have to be smarter to win. You can't just be a genetic freak. Everybody's a genetic freak at the CrossFit Games level. Um, Taylor also followed up saying, haven't had a body fat test done recently, but I'm still sitting at 175 pounds right now. Have 2 days off in a 7-day week since I'm wanting to add between 5 to 10 more pounds of lean mass. Been doing 5 days of more of a bodybuilding style workout, with the only cardio being 12-minute warm-up run before my weights. Um, Based on my macros, is this the right path, or is there something I would change? A little more cardio. I wouldn't say you would need a little more cardio. And actually, when I was trying to gain weight for powerlifting, it's exactly what I did. I did exactly what I said um, to April is, I still did conditioning, but my cardio was not the kill you style cardio that happens with CrossFit. And so I think you're right to do some body fat testing. The question is, I mean, not body fat, but bodybuilding type workouts. But the question is are you trying to get lean for a reason? Are you trying to be a CrossFit competitor? And if that is the case, then I would suggest to you that that is the incorrect approach. What you really want to do, is you want to, what we're finding at least, we have an incubator group with CrossFit Games athletes. There's about 40 people in the group, right? A lot of the guys in your situation, we have them go up to a certain body fat or weight. So in your instance, we might have you go to 185 and then CrossFit. And what magically we find is their body fat adjusts. My dog is down here, and then my wife just came home. So we may have to deal with that a little bit. But if your goal is just to look better and put on weight and lean mass, I think bodybuilding is a little bit of the answer there. The struggle I have with bodybuilding, okay, I'll just go ahead and say it, is that if you're not on, steroids, you're not going to gain the type of muscle that a lot of these guys want. And then what ultimately ends up happening is you end up in these diet cycles for the rest of your life. That's why I think a lot of people are really, it has a lot of appeal, CrossFit has, because, these guys can work towards an athletic goal. I mean, Taylor, how old are you? That would be helpful to know as well.
I think he's pretty young. If it's the same
Yeah.
Taylor, he's
Yeah.
he's pretty active in the forums, and we've kind of gotten onto him because he is. I think on average, I think I consume more carbs than he does on his workout days. But he's been doing a lot of cardio, which is fine. But we told him if you want to keep the cardio, you need to eat more because he's trying to slowly. Basically, he wants to gain 8 to 10 pounds by say May. So he wants to do it slowly, which is ideal. To minimize fat gains, but he's doing so much cardio and not eating enough that the scale keeps dropping. And we've explained to him that, if you're going to add in all this extra, activity and cardio, you got to eat more. You know, a lot of
Well,
people.
is he trying to get better? This is what I want to know. Is he trying to get better at CrossFit, to compete at CrossFit at some point, or is he just trying for beach muscles?
The second.
Okay. Um, in both scenarios, okay, um, just go to 180. Don't play around. Don't try and go up 1 pound at a time. Just go to 180. He says, um, no beach muscles all the way for now. Dude, I'm with you. Go for it. 25. Your muscles are soaked in testosterone. Just stay out of your own damn way. That's the problem you seem to be having based on what April is saying, but based on the way that you're asking these questions. I'm just telling you right now, dude, we've got nothing but guys that are 25 years old that they were sitting at 170. I got them at 190 right now. And they just turned into the Hulk. Austin Harris is in that group. Paul Anthony, Zach Williams. Does that name mean anything? Taylor Jackson.
Yeah.
All these guys were sitting in the group. They were like, trying to kind of figure it out. And I was like, guys, you're 25 years old. Just go to 180 and talk to me once you're at 180. And they were scared shitless because they've all got abs, and so they wanted to kind of keep their abs. And guess what? Now their abs are bigger. And they're lifting unreal. I think Zach, we put him up on the page the other day. He did a hang clean at like 335 or something. So these guys are actually trying for the CrossFit Games. But the reason why Kenny Leverage has more muscle than you is because Kenny Leverage can do more work than you can do. And so you really need to work on the weight component, but also the work component, and like Ronnie Coleman said, everybody wants to get big ass muscle, but no one wants to lift any heavy ass weight. That's what needs to happen. Is you need to lift some heavy ass weight, and the way you do that, is ass moves mass. Get a bigger ass, and you'll move more mass, and that will give you muscle. It's kind of interesting because we were talking. I was talking with a woman. She's a friend of a friend of mine, and she's 115 pounds. I think I actually told this story last week. She's 115 pounds. She said she needed to go to 105. Showed her, Danielle, 8-pack, same stats as her. Danielle's 153 pounds, and she's like, oh, God, I would so love those abs. And then I showed her back. She's like, but I wouldn't want the back. I said, well, you don't get the abs if you don't have that back, And it's sort of funny because I think, Taylor, what I'm trying to impress upon you is that, quit limiting yourself. You're young. You're 25 years old. You got testosterone coming out of your ears unless you mess it up. Unless you can't stay out of your own way, you're going to end up, what happens for a lot of these guys that are young guys and they're trying to diet their ways down to their abs is that they end up decreasing their testosterone as a result. Spencer Nadolsky talked about it, that natural bodybuilding tends to be like castration because your testosterone levels get too low and things of that nature. And so is that helpful for you in any way? I mean, I really think that, for you to just go, a friend of mine puts up this meme all the time, and he's like, everybody wants to be a beast until it's time to do what beasts do. And it shows a picture of a lion, with a cheetah, like bloodied, and you know what I mean? Like, everybody wants to say that they're willing to do the work, you know what I mean? But the fact of the matter, brother, is you just go to 180, Stay out of your own way. Quit listening to all this bullshit from all these people that are 40 years old. You're 25 years old. The last thing you need to do is be listening to people that are telling you, well, just go up gradually because you don't want to gain fat. Dude, 180 pounds ain't fat. Not at 5'8". I'm 180 pounds and I ain't fat. And I don't have near as much testosterone as you've got. He said, okay, the past 3 to 4 weeks I've been eating very clean on a bodybuilding style workout with no cardio, only running for 10 minutes as a warm-up. I'm hitting between 2,800 and 2,900 calories. I don't know what the very clean thing means to you, but certainly with bodybuilding you're going to want to, I don't know. I don't know why we're really even having a discussion about calories if you're trying to gain mass. Let's see. No sugars or fake crap in foods. Yeah, I'm okay with that if that's what you wanted to do. Okay, Gilly, if you can hang with me 1 second, I'm going to try and, because he was the last person. Said, April grounded me last week and I dropped 1.5 pounds. Okay. Said, thank you both for sharing your time with us. Good night. Okay, so he didn't really have a question. He was just kind of hanging out. I'm okay with you doing the no sugars or fake crap in foods. That's fine by me. I'm just saying don't, so lean meats, rice, and sweet potato. All that's fine, man, but it sounds like you're really in your head about this stuff. And I'm just telling you, dude, I got numerous examples of guys in your exact situation that put on 10 pounds and they just look jacked, and if your goal is jacked and you're going to take 10 months to get to, do me a favor and get there a lot quicker and then, stay at 180 the whole time, and then in May, trust me, those abs will be there because all your lifts will be up and all this other type of stuff. And so that would be my suggestion. But what I would suggest to you more than anything is to be in touch with James, because James is going to be the one. So don't worry about cardio. I would definitely keep your cardio low and up your calories more. Definitely up your carbs more. And make sure you're getting in adequate protein. I know you were one of the first people here, man. So I'm kind of hoping that answered your question. But definitely get together with James. I have so many examples of guys in your situation that are really, kind of were in their head. I got them out of their head, and now they have a legitimate shot at making the CrossFit Games. And even though that's not your goal, the reality of your goal is to get to where you want to go, you're going to have to do more than you're doing right now. And so the way you do that is with more food. And so find a progressive system. And James's last name is Barnum. And so on that note, we're going to end the class. For some reason, I did not. Well, I feel like I panic when we start to get like all those late questions, so I just try to answer them, so you don't get to talk for like a half hour. So we'll work on that a little bit. I'll eventually get better at this. It's only been, like a year and a half. All right, talk to you guys later. April, you want to say goodbye?
Good night, everybody.
All righty, talk to you guys later. Let's see, end webinar, stop broadcast.